Hi, thanks so much for joining me today. We are going to be talking about how to oxidize silver jewelry with liver of sulfur gel. I personally really like the gel. I've used liver of sulfur for my silver oxidizing almost exclusively for the last 10 years. Occasionally, I've ventured into using things like the black jacks. I can actually never remember the name of it because I don't use it anymore. I've just found over time that the liver of sulfur lasts longer as a patina, and I've also found that it's just easier to use. It's easier to manipulate and get good layers out of it. One of the things I love about this too, as you're going to see when I demo it, is I personally make a lot of mixed metal pieces. So pieces that have silver and some gold elements. And one of the things that I've liked about liver of sulfur is that it really doesn't oxidize the 18 karat gold that I use. So I've really liked it for that reason. Whereas some of the other more like chemical oxidation processes that you can use will oxidize the whole thing and then you have to go and like polish it off. Now, 100% somebody's going to mention or have questions about doing this process I'm about to show you with a couple of hard boiled eggs in a bag. And you can totally use an egg. But um, eggs are my favorite food. I really love eggs. And I don't want to waste an egg on something that's a non food purpose. That's just me. If it's not you, if you don't mind using an egg for that, then by all means, there are YouTube tutorials where you can learn how to do that. That's not what I'll be doing today because I think that this egg is precious and I would like to eat it. I don't want to use it for non food purposes. So, anyway, I'll be demonstrating today using this liver of sulfur gel. This is by, here, I'm going to zoom in for you. This is by Midas. You can also get one by, I believe it's called XL liver of sulfur. I haven't found a really big difference in between the brands. The brands are basically the same. But I've preferred the gel to using the liver of sulfur rocks over the years. I've just found that this, it lasts longer in the jar for one. For another, you don't have to like break anything up to get it to work. So like with the liver of sulfur chunks, you usually have to like bang on it with a hammer, and I've just found that it doesn't last as long. Whereas this in a jar, stored away from light, stored away from moisture. I mean, this jar is at least a year old, and you only have to use a little bit at a time. So I just find that this is a lot more efficient and a lot more economical. So I'm going to turn the camera down to the station. You are going to hear some background noise because I will definitely have ventilation going. Liver of sulfur smells just as bad as the name suggests. It does smell just like sulfur, and it's not a great thing to just be inhaling all the time. It's also gonna like stink up the room, so I always put ventilation on while I'm using it. You'll also hear my tumbler running in the background because I'm going to show you what that looks like after you tumble something that's been oxidized using liver of sulfur. So let me hit pause for just a moment, and you can join me over at the oxidation station. Part of the reason I wanted to demonstrate this is that I've got two pieces here and they are actually mixed metal. So I've got one of my silver rings and this part in the middle is actually 18 karat gold. So I just want to show you what liver of sulfur does to combo gold and silver pieces, because this is actually how I oxidize all of my mixed metal pieces. So I've also got this necklace that has a stone in it, and I'm going to have to be really careful to avoid that stone. But this chain I very much want oxidized. So I've got boiling hot water off to the side here, that direction. I've got some boiling hot water here. You definitely want the water as hot as you can possibly get it. The reason why I have the plain water next to the side is that periodically you're going to want to stop oxidizing a piece. So I take this gel. All right, so this is the gel. It really does smell like sulfur. I'm doing this right next to an open window too. So I'm going to stir this up just a little bit. It very, very much smells just like sulfur. So you definitely don't want to be leaning right over it. So that's how much I'm going to use, just enough to kind of cover that stick. I set that liver of sulfur aside. I've got some boiling hot water here. I'm going to add to it. In an ideal world, what I would tell you to do is actually add the liver of sulfur to the boiling water. And you do want it pretty diluted. Really quick, I'm just going to take a moment and get my exhaust fan going. Like I said, this stuff smells bad. You might not want it to smell at your house, so you'll want to do it in front of your exhaust. However that works in front of an open window. This for me is just a fan that's put in reverse. Okay, so I'm going to pick up this piece. Just going to dunk it really quick. Look, it's already started coloring a little bit, so I'm going to move it over here and do that some more. And I'm going really slowly. If you go really fast with oxidizing, what happens is that it makes a coating that actually like chips off instead of adheres to the silver, which is what you want, what you're going for. And you'll notice now, like now you can really see the gold, right? Just don't get the water. It's really important that you clean the piece beforehand because fingerprints that get on it will be hard to oxidize later. So I'm going to dunk it one more time. Dunk it in the water. I'm going to show you on camera. But one thing that I do have, so I have this brass brush here. One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly rub it. It's going to remove some of the oxidation. It's going to highlight it a little bit. It's going to shine it up. But I want to put the oxidation on in layers. So you really want to like burnish this oxidation in. So you can see it took off some, not all, but some. And so now I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to dunk slowly once again. And I'm going to give it one more dunk. Dunk it in the water. The other thing you can do at this point is also dunk it in baking soda, but you can see it's barely touching the gold. So I'm going to dunk this in a little baking soda, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my tumbler for a moment, so you're going to hear that. So this is going to get nice and loud now. So the next thing I want to do is, I've got this necklace, and this necklace has a stone in it, but I want the chain to be oxidized, but the bezel is, see, the bezel is gold. And I'm going to keep the stone out of it completely because the back has some holes in it, and I don't want it to hit inside of the stone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that locking tweezer, like that. And I'm just going to dunk it slowly, get it right up to the tip. So I don't know if you can see, but like the progression is pretty quick on this kind of silver chain, but it's still a little bit blue, a little bit spotty in a few places. So I'm just going to dunk it again. Water. And that's looking pretty good. It's not really hitting the back there, which is great because I don't want it to get oxidized underneath. Dunk it one more time. And I'm going to toss this guy into the tumbler too, just to get it really shiny. But you can see it got nice and flat black right away. So this is out of the tumbler, and you can see it's really cool because it like keeps it pretty shiny, but like flat black. Check that out. Plus the gold, the 18 karat gold, it pretty much didn't touch at all. So that's a really good illustration of why I love the Liver of Sulfur Gel. It really hits that silver just perfectly.
while not doing anything to the gold. But yeah, I tossed this into the tumbler. Well, you heard me when I turned it on, so it was just for a few seconds, maybe even a minute. You can see just how shiny that got, but it's still staying nice and black. So this is my finished piece. This is the finish that I'm going for. Somewhere in between a high polish and a satin, with the gold nice and highlighted. If I wanted to, I could come in with a brass brush and highlight even more, but I really like this just as it is.
Thanks so much for joining me today. Remember to sign up for my YouTube channel and check out my website for other full jewelry classes that you can take online.